We can start. We now have quorum. We can start. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning once again. You don't sound happy. What's the issue? You're happy? Thank you. Then let's start the business of the day. Clerk, proceed.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Today next order. sorry.
Order number 8, motion, approval of report of the Health and Emergency Services Committee on the status of MACHAKOS Level 5 Hospital.
Thank you, Clerk. May I invite Honorable Vincent Motier to come forward.
Madam Speaker, I'm raising understanding order number 32. That is about the quorum of the House. Madam Speaker, I think whoever has told you that we have quorum, we don't have quorum, Madam Speaker. The members in the House are only 18. And the quorum of the House should be 20. That is that of the members of the Assembly.
Have been given a report that we are enough quorum.
That is why I'm notifying you that we are not
active
enough,
on
Madam
that.
Speaker.
Clerk, can I get the correct position? Yeah. Okay. I am advised that we are not yet quorum, and I'll request that we have the bell rung again for 8 minutes. I think that's procedural. Then we can move.
Madam Speaker, why the bell is being rung?
I understand when the bell is ringing, procedurally it's wrong for a member to address the House. All right. Yeah. Best you can do is just to whip other people, the members who are not here to come. We work. If whips are not working, you remove them and put the right people. You know? Yeah. Everything is within your hands. Mine is just to communicate what you tell me to communicate. That's it. Who is being sabotaged? Who is being sabotaged? You're just sabotaging yourselves. Sorry? No, if somebody knows why they came to this assembly, then they should not even be saying that it's a sabotage. Who is being sabotaged? Everybody came here, was sent here by the members of the award to come and represent them. If they don't want to come to Bunge, they are sabotaging who? Exactly. Yes. So I don't know who that one is who is being, and I have said, if the whips are not working, you discharge them from their duties. You get new ones. Because this Bunge must proceed, must go on. I mean, we cannot have an assembly that is not working.
Madam Speaker, since you have allowed the debate during...
No, I have not allowed any debate. I'm the one talking.
But Madam Speaker, you have set a precedence.
I am the one talking. When the speaker is... Order, members, order, order, order. Can we start the business of the day? We have quorum now. Simamisha bell, tuanze kazi. I'm told the mover is outside the press seats. Okay. We can now start afresh. Yes, we start afresh from the motion, which is agenda number 8. And at this point, may I invite Honorable Vincent Mutie, Chairperson, Health and Emergency Services Committee, to come forward and move the motion. Proceed, Honorable Mutie.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My name is Vincent Mutie. the member for Upper Kiowa Ward, and also the current chair of the Committee of Health and Emergency Services. Honorable Speakers, pursuant to Standing Order number 190, Sub-Order 5, I wish to move the motion that this House adopts the report of the Health and Emergency Services Committee on the status of the Machakos Level 5 Hospital laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 13th March 2024. I invite the Honorable Xila to second the motion.
Thank you, honorable members. I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Health and Emergency Services Committee on the status of Machakos Level 5 Hospital laid down on the table of the House on Wednesday, 13th March 2024. Before I proceed to call members to debate this matter, I want to invite the mover to come forward and highlight on the report. Proceed, Honorable Mutia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The report is available at the various platforms that the Assembly has availed to us. There are various headings and subheadings. But, Honorable Speaker, I would not discuss the introduction, the committee mandate, the committee membership, and also the secretariat. But I will give a highlight on the references that we relied upon as a committee to do this work. Honorable Speaker, during a committee meeting on the 12th February 2024, it was brought to the attention.
What page, honorable member?
I am at page 6.
6. Thank you.
It was brought to the attention of the committee on the public outcry about the status of Machakos Level 5 Hospital. This was also backed by letters circulated in social media, purported to be originating from doctors, the medical superintendent of the said hospital. That is the Annexure 1, 2, and 3. Therefore, the following was set out as the matters to be considered and investigations to be done during the site visit and engagement with the management of Level 5 Hospital. Number 1 is the status of the intensive care unit. We had a letter that did suggest that they were on the verge of closure due to low supplies. We also focused ourselves on the status of the mortuary. You realize there were claims and utterances in public that the mortuary had been closed. We also did an inquiry about the theater based on the many complaints that we had received that the theater cannot admit patients. We also did an inquiry on the laundry unit, availability of hospital supplies, status of the catering unit, revenue collection in the facility, and the general service delivery. Honorable Speaker, the observations of the committee are as outlined from page 7, and I will pick several of the observations from the various units that we visited. And the first one is the intensive care unit. Honorable Speaker, we did interrogate the nurse in charge of the ICU who stated that the bed capacity is 6. However, as at the time of the visit, only 4 beds were being used because of the staffing levels of nurses in the ICU, which was not enough. The ICU department has 26 nurses working in shifts. One patient in ICU is supposed to be manned by 6 nurses working in shifts. So we had 6 beds which was available as at the time. The hospital has a 2-bed capacity high dependency unit, which at the time of this visit was not operational because of the same issue of shortage of nurses. It was further reported that in an ideal situation, a patient in HDU is supposed to be handled by 8 nurses working in shifts. The committee was informed that when the ICU is overwhelmed with patients, referrals are made to Kenyatta National Hospital or private hospitals depending on the patient's keen preference. The nurse in charge of the ICU acknowledged that the letter which we relied upon to make our decisions was known to him and was the true status of the ICU as at 24th January 2024. The ICU had stockouts of heat and moisture exchangers and bacterial filters. The bacterial filters for the ventilators, catheter mounts, perfuser lines, and blood gas analysis. The breathing circuits wipes had broken down and needed replacement. He, however, stated that that new breathing circuits were later traced in the maternity theater. It was reported at the time this letter was being written, the ICU had stayed for 2 weeks without supplies, with an admission of only 1 patient. During this time when stockouts were experienced, patients were being transferred to other hospitals. The status of the theater. The committee had an engagement with the head of General St. John's, who confirmed to be the author of letter annexure number 2, dated the 29th January 2024. He further confirmed that the contents of the letter addressed to all heads of departments and copied to the medical superintendent on frequent disruptions of essential theater supplies were known to him and was a true reflection of the status of the theater as at the time the letter was done. Honorable Speaker, this is to help the Assembly realize that our actions were informed by those letters which were doing circles in the media. As at the time of this visit, the doctor further highlighted to the committee that supplies of essential theater commodity was still erratic. Patients were being told to purchase such theater supplies from outside the facility whenever they were out of stock. Some would purchase while others would opt to have their patients transferred to private hospitals within the town. Those who could not afford to purchase would wait until restocking is done. The doctor reported that the common theater commodities whose supplies are not consistent were gloves, sterile drapes, sterile gauzes, and satios. He further acknowledged that laundry for the theater was recently being done from Kangundo as at that time, since the laundry machine at MACHAKOS level 5 had broken down. Availability of hospital supplies, that is the second thematic area that we concentrated ourselves on. The committee held a discussion with the head of pharmacy on hospital supplies, especially pharmaceuticals. He indicated that the facility consumes approximately 30 million on drugs, 30 million on laboratory reagents, and 10 million on imaging supplies quarterly. That is a total of about 70 million per quarter. He further reported that during the second quarter of the current financial year, that is October, November, and December, the hospital had ordered supplies from KEMSA worth 20 million and from MEDS worth 10 million. Out of this order, consignment worth 15 million and 9 million was received from KEMSA and MEDS respectively in the month of January. Honorable Speaker, realized that was the order of October, November, and December, which was received in January this year. This is because payment of MEDS are made upfront, whereas those for KEMSA are made after delivery. However, KEMSA cannot supply until the previous payment has been done. What this means, Honorable Speaker, is that KEMSA has a window for credit. And the moment they give you a credit, for example, they give you a credit of 50 million, you exhaust that credit, then you have to pay that credit before accessing another credit. The committee was informed that lack of funds occasioned delay of these critical hospital supplies. And to bridge the gap, the hospital has been engaging local suppliers who currently were not being promptly paid. He acknowledged that supply of pharmaceutical and non-pharmaceuticals in the hospital was erratic, and this was inconveniencing all the department and the patients. The committee made visits to the non-pharmaceutical store and noted that most of the cartons were empty. The nurse in charge reported that most of the commodities were out of stock. And more especially clean gloves, out of an order of 1,000 pairs of clean gloves, which had been placed as at the time of the visit from the outpatient department, only 100 pairs were available. This meant that patients will have to buy from outside to supplement the deficit. The committee further had an engagement with the officer in charge of procurement in the hospital, who stated that acquisition of bulk commodities and equipment was done by the director of procurement in the entire Department of Health. The in charge of procurement at the facility reported that she only dealt with emergency commodities of amounts less than 50,000 per item per year. This means that they could not procure an item that is above 50,000. So if they were to buy water at the facility, it would be for 50,000 per year. The hospital has accrued approximately 2 million pending bills from suppliers of the emergency commodities since last year. She was also charged with the responsibility of receiving delivered commodities and issuance to the user departments. The mortuary. Honorable Speaker, we had an issue with the mortuary because we had utterances about the closure of mortuary, and the committee made the following observation. The committee interrogated the officer in charge of public health in the facility, who confirmed that in the month of October, November, and part of December 2023, the mortuary at MACHAKOS Level 5 had been closed to pave room for renovations. The renovations were done on the superstructure and not the chambers. The chambers are the coolers where the bodies are stored. This included plastering, partitioning, cold room, because toilets, offices, and doctors' rooms. The walls were dilapidated before the renovations and were losing coldness, hence compromising the preservation aspect of the mortuary. Before the closure for renovation, the Public Health Department had made an application to the court to conduct mass burial of 31 unclaimed bodies, which and it was granted, as at the time of renovation, the mortuary had only 4 bodies. During the renovations, the hospital wrote a letter to notify the police of non-admission of bodies, but a public notice was not done. The officer was neither aware whether inspection and acceptance had been done on the renovated part nor handing over of the project. He, however, confirmed that the contractor had exited the site. He further brought to the attention of the committee of the body of a suspected thief who had been burned at Kenya, Israel in January, and clarified that it was not brought at MACHAKOS Level 5 mortuary, but instead taken directly to Kathiani Level 4 mortuary. The committee visited the mortuary and noted that it was operational with 3 chambers holding 6 bodies each. Only 1 chamber was under renovation. A public notice had been placed on the notice board to inform members of the public of resumption of services. The mortuary has a capacity of 24, and the occupancy as at the time of the visit was 13. The public health officer further notified the committee that post-mortem services were not being offered in the mortuary because of lack of a post-mortem kit whose requisition had been raised severally. Status of the laundry unit. The committee held a discussion with the hospital in charge, officer in charge of the laundry unit, who confirmed that in the month of December 2023, that was the time of that outcry, the hospital received 4 new laundry machines, which included 1 sluicing machine, 2 washing machines, and 1 calendar. This replaced the old machine, which would frequently break down and tear linen as it washed. Installation of the new machines started in January 2024, which included mounting, wiring, and plumbing, and was done by the hospital maintenance team in conjunction with the supplier. The hospitality officer reported that disruption of laundry services occurred when the old machine was uninstalled and replaced with one of the new machines. The new washing machine started overheating, and the heater had to be removed. Honorable Speaker, the new machines had a heater to warm water. So the heaters which were overheating were the ones which were supposed to warm the water for the washing. So when it was removed, basically the laundry had to resume, but with cold water. The committee was also informed that the inspection and acceptance report had not been done, and that is where we were concerned, that the machines are already being used by the department, and yet the handover had not been done. It exposes us to a risk that the contractor, or rather the supplier, would say that we have since begun using the machines, and so we take any risk that occurs in case of a breakdown. We interrogated the biomedical engineer, who further stated that the manual book for the laundry machine was in Chinese language. But plans were underway to have an English version availed. He also added that the machine did not have a brand name, hence difficult to compare the maintenance with other machines. The hospital staff operating the machines had not been trained. Honorable Speaker realized that it was part of the contract to install and to train the staff on operations. Sure. As at the time of the visit, the training had not been done. The committee visited the laundry unit and was impressed by its operation despite the initial installation challenges. As at the time of the visit, all the newly installed machines in the laundry unit were working. The hospital linen was, however, old, stained, and torn. The status of the catering unit. The committee interrogated the hospitality officer in charge of the catering unit, who confirmed that the contents of letter annexed number 3, which is also part of our report today, dated the 25th January 2024 and signed by the medical superintendent, was a true reflection of the food stock of the hospital as at that date. According to the letter, the framework supplier of foodstuffs in the hospital was adamant on supplying food owing to delayed payments since September 2023. She, however, confirmed that patients have never missed a meal. She highlighted that orders are done quarterly and forwarded to the Department of Procurement. Approximately Kenya shillings 9 million per month was adequate to cater for perishables, dry foods, and cooking fuels. The committee was informed that in the month of October and November 2023, supply of food rations was sufficient and dry stuffs were supplied enough for a month. The supplier would supply perishables every Monday and Friday. Of course, because Monday and Friday, we all know that it's a market day here in Machakos town. Currently, the supplies were unpredictable. And there are days that this particular officer would get to office at 8 a.m. without food stocks for lunch and dinner meals for that day. On these days, the lunch meals would be served as late as 2:30 p.m. Our concern was for the diabetic patients. They did indicate that diabetic patients were being served with porridge as they wait for the meal. The committee interrogated some patients, and it was confirmed that meals were being delayed at some times, on some days. The committee visited the main kitchen and noted that it was under renovation since last year, October. A temporary kitchen was being used in the meantime. The scope of works for the renovation of the kitchen included drainage, painting, cold rooms. The cold rooms were to be tiled again, and the store, partitioning of washrooms, and ceilings. The committee noted that when the rains came, the roof was leaking, and it destroyed the already renovated ceiling. As at the time of this visit, Honorable Speaker, the contractor was not on site, and works on the stores and cold rooms had not commenced. The committee made a checkup of the food store and the availability of food. And the available food was 2 bales of maize flour, 5 bales of wheat flour, 6 cartons of tea leaves, and 2 cartons of Blue Band. The store had sufficient perishables, but the cereal store was empty. Honorable Speaker, I would like to talk about the revenue collection. On revenue collection, the committee was informed that in the month of November 2023, Kenya shillings 11,467,000 was collected. This included 61% from outpatient and 31% from inpatient. A breakdown of the outpatient collection showed that Kenya shillings 2 million was collected from laboratory services. Kenya shillings 1,600,000 from imaging services. Kenya shillings 1,200,000 from pharmacy, and Kenya shillings 1,600,000 from consultations. In the month of December 2023, the hospital collected Kenya shillings 9,400,000, which included 56% from outpatient, 44% from inpatient. These fees and charges are paid through M-Pesa to the hospital account and later swept to Family Bank account. The hospital, however, has no authority to spend the monies collected from the facility. The administrator of the hospital confirmed that during the second quarter, financial year 2023-2024, the facility got a plowback of Kenya shillings 5 million, which was received in the month of October 2023, whereas in the month of January, I believe in 2024, 5.5 million was received to cover the third quarter. These funds are utilized in the form of interest to cater for operations of the hospital. This includes fueling of ambulances and purchase of emergency hospital commodities. The hospital administration stated that the monies received as plowback was very little and not able to sustain the hospital. Honorable Speaker realized that that is 11.5 million, which had been taken back to the hospital against a collection of 20 million for 2 months. We desired to speak to the consultants because they have a first-hand experience on handling issues affecting the hospital. They deal with our patients, they deal with our people on a daily basis. And we did not want to rely on information from one source. Therefore, we did engage representatives of the consultants. And the committee was supplied with copies of minutes from meetings of consultants which had highlighted various issues. That is as per the Annexure 5 and 6. The committee was able to deduce the following from the minutes. The minutes of the meeting of the 15th November 2023. The committee noted that from the minutes that the county government has adopted the Facility Improvement Financing Act 2023 that was recently passed by the Senate and whose operationalization was to start from 1st December 2023. The committee noted that the FIF collection from the 10th of September to 15th of November was as outlined below. Outpatient 13,512,266 and 68 cents. Inpatient 8,212,212 and 91 cents. Total collection for the month of from the month of September to November was 21,724,383.59 cents. Honorable Speaker, this is an indicator that even with low supplies, the hospital was able to make collections. If we could use the same collection to enhance the supplies, then perhaps we could have more collection. We also noted that, on average, revenue collection accounted for was at 62%, 62.2% of total revenue collection, while outpatient accounted for 62, and inpatient accounted for 37. The committee observed that the consultants had unanimously agreed that the hospital was not reaching its full potential in revenue collection. That the malfunctioning of the laundry unit, poor state of linen, and lack of key supplies had been discussed during this consultants' meeting. There was also a second meeting on the 17th of January 2024. Honorable Speaker, that is 2 months after the first meeting. The committee appreciated that there was automation of health records, launch of new health information management system for both inpatient and outpatient services, which was a great boost to service delivery. The committee noted that the following challenges as discussed, by the consultants. Number one, staff exodus. There are many of our nurses who are exiting, of course, in search of greener pastures. Security lapses in the vicinity of the hospital. Low staff morale due to lack of implementation of collective bargaining agreement and public service policies. Shortage of electronic infrastructure like computers. Under-equipped departments like Dendo, which has resulted in increased referrals to Kenyatta National Hospital. General poor and all buildings with inadequate space to accommodate expansion of services. The committee noted from the minutes that the hospital levels of operation was at 10%, mainly because critical departments such as laboratory, radiology, ICU, renal and pharmacy departments were still struggling with commodities, stockhouse causing demotivation and lethargy of staff. Honorable Speaker, we did engage the Chief Officer Medical Services over the said issues, and this is what he said. I will jump page 13, for it gives us the background. But I will pick bullet 59 and 60. We did write a letter. The reference is as outlined there, dated 26th February 2024. And the Chief Officer stated as following: that supplies of pharmaceuticals, non-pharmaceuticals, and food rations is inconsistent in Machakos Level 5 hospital and across all the hospitals in the county. This is occasioned by inadequate budget allocation on both lines of such supplies. For instance, in the current budget, the current budget for purchase of pharmaceuticals and non-pharmaceuticals in all hospitals in the county is at 236 million. That is the pending bill. As at the time of this meeting, the chief officer reported that the budget had been exhausted and had put forth a request to have an additional 123 million in the second supplementary budget. He stated that 70% of these hospital supplies go to level 3 and 2, which do not collect much revenue. He further stated that the ideal budget for pharmaceuticals and non-pharmaceuticals in all hospitals across the county in a financial year should be 800 million. As at the time of this meeting, the chief officer confirmed that most of the supplies in the hospitals were out of stock. On revenue collection, Machakos level 5, the chief officer, on revenue collection in Machakos level 5, the chief officer highlighted that during the first half of financial year 2023-2024, the hospital collected a total of 106 million, even when all the departments were not operating optimally. He informed the committee that if this amount was to be utilized within the facility as provided for in the Facility Improvement Financing Act 2023, much pressure on supplies would be relieved. All the revenue collected at the hospital was banked via M-Pesa paybill to Family Bank. He, however, reported that he was not a signatory to the account and had no access to the funds collected. NHIF claims for Machakos level 5 hospital, according to the chief officer, Honorable Speaker, goes to the county revenue account. On staffing of the hospital, the chief officer acknowledged that shortage of staff across all cadres was a big challenge, affecting service delivery in Machakos level 5 hospital and all other hospitals in the county.
Honorable Member, that bullet number 64 sounds like shouldn't be, the money shouldn't be banked there. Is that what you mean?
For every facility, Honorable Speaker, right from level 4 to level 5, they make individual claims. Mm-hmm. And these remissions are supposed to be deposited with those hospitals. As to how now they found access to the CRF, we do not know. We are placing emphasis that they should be available at those facilities from which they were first collected.
Okay.
On the status of the mortuary, there is a part of bullet number 65 that the chief officer informed the committee that recently an advertisement had been made to fill 91 positions, which were still not enough, especially for the ICU and the HDU. On the status of the mortuary, the chief officer appreciated that most of the cooling machineries were old and inefficient. This meant that routine maintenance had to be done and was expensive since some spare parts of such old machineries were not locally available. He proposed that the county can consider building a modern funeral home. He further stated that the current mortuary at Machakos Level 5 Hospital did not have space to accommodate post-mortem services, and such can be considered when proposing for a modern funeral home. He also acknowledged that public notice was not done when the mortuary was being closed during renovations, which was an oversight on the administration of the hospital. On the laundry unit, he confirmed that it was operational. He stated that when the committee visited the facility, personnel working in the laundry unit had not been trained on operations of the machine and used to overload the machine, hence the overeating. He, however, confirmed that the supplier had since trained them and availed an English version manual. Handing over of the machines was yet to be done and was planned to take place after the biomedical engineer had been inducted on the use of the machine. The officer acknowledged that the hospital linen was torn and old, hence the need to have it replaced. A budget of 30 million would be ideal to cater for linen and patients' gowns in Machakos Level 5 hospital and all Level 4 hospitals. On food rations, the chief officer stated that the supplies were erratic. Honorable Speaker realized that all these officers are giving the same indication. That the food supplies were erratic owing to delayed payment of the suppliers and exchequer releases. He, however, highlighted that patients at the hospital have not lacked a meal. On renovation works on the main kitchen, the chief officer informed the committee that the scope of works did not include roofing of the kitchen and no payment had been done on the works. Works were ongoing according to him. On why the hospital did not have a medical superintendent, the chief officer stated that there was a proposal to have a CEO. Currently, the hospital was being manned by the deputy medical superintendent, who was on leave as at the time of the visit. Honorable Speaker, the committee did its own evaluation of the responses and the observations thereon, and we did come up with our findings. From the above observations, drawn from the site visit, minutes of hospital consultants, and discussion with the chief officer, medical services, the committee made the following findings. That Machakos Level 5 hospital has an acute shortage of staff across all the cadres. This has led to service delivery at the facility being poor. Some critical departments like the ICU and HDU have had to scale down on the admissions because of shortage of nurses. This has also greatly affected the quality and promptness of medical care. We further found that there is no functional and competent county directorate of health as provided for in the Health Act of 2017. Most directors, Honorable Speaker, they are either in acting capacity, and the substantive one had been transferred to other areas under unclear circumstances. We further found that supplies of pharmaceuticals and non-pharmaceuticals in Machakos Level 5 hospital was erratic, despite it being the referral hospital of the county. This was affecting the less fortunate, especially those who required theater services and could not afford to purchase the much needed theater commodities from outside the hospital or get transferred to private hospitals. The hospital can operate smoothly with a budget of 70 million per quarter to cater for drugs, imaging, and laboratory commodities. When renovations were being done at the Machakos Level 5 hospital mortuary, closure was done without informing members of public. Honorable Speaker, every time there is a disruption occasioned by a closure, even of a road, it is prudent that the members of public are notified because they use those facilities. As at the time of the site visit, the mortuary had been reopened. The capacity and standards of the mortuary, however, do not meet the current market demand of funeral homes. Post-mortem services were not being conducted at the mortuary because there was no post-mortem kit. All of deaths with police cases requiring post-mortem services had to be transferred to private funeral parlors. This in itself is a loss of revenue. The new laundry unit is working well, despite the initial installation challenges. However, the laundry machines are being used even before the inspection and acceptance report has been done and commissioned. This poses a risk, especially on who is responsible in case a breakdown happens. We also found that the hospital linen and patient gowns are old and torn. Besides not having having replacement of the linen done in the recent past, the old machine and contributed in worsening the state of the hospital linen. The supply of food rations is inconsistent, and there is a high risk of patients missing meals. The hospital can comfortably operate with a budget of 27 million per quarter on perishables, dry stuffs, and cooking gas. The renovation works of the main kitchen seems, Honorable Speaker, according to the evaluation done by the committee, it seems that those renovation works have stalled with the contractor not being on site. The roof on the kitchen is leaking. Priority has to be given to the roof before repairing the ceiling. The amount plowed back to the hospital is way too low compared to the amount collected at the facility. In fact, the ratio of the amount of plowback to the amount collected can be equated to 0.2 to 1. This will mean that if we collect 10 shillings, we take back 2 shillings. If the hospital can collect an approximate of 10 million per month with the current inconsistent supplies, that is a clear indication that when all supplies are well stocked, optimally, Honorable Speaker, perhaps we could get a double output on revenue. We did our diligence and our evaluation on what we saw, what we had, and we came up with the following recommendations, Honorable Speaker. The county government should consider apportioning some additional funds to start a phased program of recruiting medical personnel in the Department of Health and Emergency Services. The County Public Service Board should prioritize recruitment processes for any pending advertisement in the shortest time possible. We also recommend that sufficient budget should be allocated for the purchase of pharmaceutical and non-pharmaceutical supplies. Lack of these basic and very essential commodities entirely impact negatively on service delivery in the hospital and ultimately affect residents of the county who cannot afford medical services in private hospital. At least 70 million should be allocated to the hospital per quarter to cater for drugs, imaging, and laboratory commodities. Further, when the Department of Health and Emergency Services intends to close certain units in the MACHAKOS Level 5 hospital or any other public hospital within its jurisdiction, a public notice should be issued on such disruption of services through the Kenya Gazette and other media platforms. Reopening and resumption of service or such services should also be notified to the public. The county should also set aside funds for construction of a modern state-of-the-art funeral home with a 100-body capacity, well equipped with a most post-mortem kit and a chapel. Further, the non-functional chambers in the current mortuary should be operationalized and modernized to cater for the police cases and unclaimed bodies. Training of my biomedical engineers and handing over of the laundry unit to the hospital should be fast-tracked the soonest. This, of course, is in line with the Public Procurement and Disposals Act. Kenya shillings 30 million should be factored in the budget for the financial year 2024-2025 for purchase of hospital linen and gowns. These linen and gowns will specifically be for MACHAKOS Level 5 and all the Level 4 hospitals in the county. Accrued debts of the food ration suppliers should be paid within the next 30 days, since the county is in the budget-making process according to the Public Finance and Management Act. Regulations, Father. Sufficient budget should be allocated for purchase of food rations in the hospital. At least 27 million should be allocated per quarter on perishables, dry stuffs, and cooking gas for MACHAKOS Level 5. The scope of works for renovation of the main kitchen should be revised to include repair of the roof. The contractor should also be urged to hasten the renovation works because hygiene of the makeshift kitchen is not to the required World Health Organization standards. The health department should be restructured by establishing the directorates as described in the Health Act of 2017, and the posts in acting capacity to be filled competitively to provide the necessary technical advice required. Honorable Speaker, the Health Services Act of 2017, the National Health Act of 2017, requires that there will be a director for health for every county.
Yes.
And there are various directorates: a director for medical services, director for nursing, director for public health, director for administration. All these and other directorates, as may be, are required. That act gives them a specific responsibility to be the advisors of the governor on matters of health. As it is, the directorate at the department does not meet the standards of the act. That is why we are recommending that those that are in acting capacity to either be confirmed or those who were substantially hired to be reinstated, so that the required advice, technical advice, can be offered as per the law, as per what the act says. Honorable Speaker, mandatory directorates should be...
Before you leave that point on technical knowledge of those given the knowledge, the duties to act as the directorates. I remember discussing this matter with you some times back, and I was able to tell you that I am aware that there are some of these directorates, people act in their acting capacity or in actually fully engaged, who have questionable academic papers, dubious, that could perhaps be checked and verified. I don't know whether during this visit you are able to do that, and if you have not been able to do that, it is still outstanding. So there is still more work to be done.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We did, of course, question those who were in an acting capacity. Section 18 of the National Health Services Act describes the academic qualifications and the experience required for such officers. Nevertheless, most of them who had been handpicked in acting capacity, Honorable Speaker, the scheme of work does not allow someone to act in a position they are not qualified to hold. It is further important also for the House to note that we have a functional public service board, and it is the public service board that can guide on those issues, on those positions that require acting officers. And no officer should act for more than 6 months, Honorable Speaker.
Sure.
Therefore, it is important that these positions are well structured to create the necessary technical advice to the department, and more so to the governor, because elected leaders bear the biggest responsibilities. Honorable Speaker, the mandatory directorates that should be established are medical services, nursing, director of pharmaceutical services, public health, administrative services. At the time of the visit, Honorable Speaker, the director for medical services was exiting the service. As to whether he has exited, we are yet to know. As at the time of the visit, the director nursing was acting. The substantive one had been transferred. As to why that happened, we do not know. Honorable Speaker, perhaps it is an internal reorganization. But at a time like this, when the county is struggling with the wage bill, you cannot afford to transfer someone to go and perform duties that are less and pay them for a position that is high. If there were human resource errors, it is the belief of the committee that there are procedures that have been provided in law to punish, to reprimand errand officers. But now to transfer a director to go and become a nurse in MATU level 4, it is okay. But why should you pay a nurse the salary of a director? It would have been prudent to take disciplinary actions rather than expose the county to a matter that seems to draw us into the same conclusion that we have always had. As at the time of the visit, Honorable Speaker, the Director, Public Health, was also acting. We understand that the same director is now a nurse, a medical officer at Kadhiani level 4. As to why that happened, we do not know. We have no issues with the transfers as a committee, but we have an issue why the administration office at the Department of Health does not want to offer the right advice to the government, to the extent that when you create another position, when already there is an officer in that position, the cost of paying 2 salaries for the same position goes high. And it will mean that we will not be able to hire other people because we might have a challenge in budgeting. We further said, Honorable Speaker, since Machakos level 5, and that is bullet number 93, Machakos level 5 is the apex of the referral system at the county. We felt that we cannot afford to merge level 5 and level 4s to be managed under one department. It is our feeling, Honorable Speaker, that Machakos level 5 to be converted to a corporate headed by a chief executive officer, competitively sourced by the County Public Service Board, and a fully functional hospital board of management with such powers and responsibilities as outlined in the recently enacted Facility Improvement Financing Act 2023. Machakos level 5 hospital to be considered as a procuring entity. Honorable Speaker, I realize that the chain of procuring a small item seems to take a long procedure. And we normally say that the opinion of a doctor is always a decision. We cannot subject that opinion to higher hierarchies of approval. If the hospital requires syringes, we do not need someone from outside the hospital to approve for us the purchase of syringes. If the hospital requires gloves, we don't need someone from outside to determine that we need gloves. Honorable Speaker, the bottlenecks that we have seen from
board bureaucracies that the bottlenecks to procurement.
Thank
Proceed.
you. So the bottlenecks that we have seen as we discussed with the procurement department at the health at Machakos level 5 is that they do not have end-to-end rights. By this I mean that the person at the ward has to do a requisition, which will go to the ward manager, which will go to the officer in charge of that particular ward. And it will proceed to the medical superintendent, from the medical superintendent to the chief officer, from the chief officer to the CEC. And that process is at the Department of Health. That is at that particular hospital. When the CEC has that, the same has to be forwarded to finance to okay the sourcing of supplies. At that time, the patient is still at the ward. Sure. Honorable Speaker, we do recommend further, for the purpose of budgeting, Machakos Level 5 Hospital should be budgeted independently. Number 94, implementation of the Facility Improvement Financing Act 2023 is bestowed with the CECM, the Department of Health and Emergency Services. This act will ensure monies collected in all county hospitals are banked and managed within such hospitals. Honorable Speaker, we have that act which has been enacted recently and has required that every facility should have its account.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. I'm raising understanding order number 27, which allows for the extension of the sitting of the House from 12:30 to another time, Madam Speaker. I beg to move the motion that the House resolves to extend its sitting time until the business is complete.
You can have a seconder. Ask a seconder.
I'm calling upon Honorable PK to second my motion.
Honorable PK, thank you. Thank you, members. I now propose that this House resolves to extend its sitting time until the business of the day is concluded. I now put the question that this House resolves to extend its sitting time until the business of the day is concluded. As many are of the opinion, say ayes. As many are of the contrary opinion, say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Mutie, you may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I will take number 94 once again, that the implementation of the Facility Improvement Financing Act 2023 is bestowed with the CECM, the Department of Health and Emergency Services. This act will ensure monies collected in all county hospitals are banked and managed within such hospitals. It will also facilitate creation of hospital boards and facility committees to oversee management of monies collected in hospitals. The committee directs the CECM to formulate regulations, that is the CECM Health, to formulate regulations and forward them to the Assembly for consideration and approval. The committee further directs that the CECM appraises this House with the implementation status of the said Act within 14 days from the approval of the said regulations. Honorable Speaker, in my conclusion, allow me to acknowledge the Department of Health and Emergency Services for the response given and proposals given for the management of Machakos Level 5 Hospital. I wish to appreciate the Health and Emergency Services Committee members for their dedication during site visits, committee sittings, and compiling of this report. Honorable Speaker, the committee expresses gratitude to the Office of the Speaker and that of the Clerk of the Assembly for the continuous, relentless support received as it discharged its mandate. It is therefore my duty on behalf of the Health and Emergency Services Committee to table this report and recommend it to this Honorable House for consideration and adoption. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mutie, a very, very comprehensive report there, members. I want to applaud that committee together with Chair for having done a very good job on this report. I now invite members to really discuss this matter because it's a matter very important and very key to our county. Members, it is your floor to discuss Level 5 Hospital, Machakos. Honorable Brian Kisila, you can start us off. Yeah.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to use first, my name is Brian Kisila, member of this committee, very proud member of this committee. First, I would like to start by thanking our very able chairman. Chairman, you started by introducing yourself as the current chairman. Yes, you are the current chairman, and you are going to be our chairman because you are competent as a chairman. I feel very proud. I feel very proud to be a member of this committee. This is one of the best committees we have in this assembly. A committee which knows its work, and a committee which is very thorough in what they do. And Madam Speaker, if you look around, you will see the commitment by the committee, by the way the members are present. Even the members who are there who are moved to other committees. Mr. Mweshimwandi and Mweshimiwa Digital, they are still here. That is a commitment that they are up to the task. Madam Speaker, it is a report which, as an assembly, we need to ensure it is implemented to the latter. It is this report. Because, Madam Speaker, the state of Machakos Level 5 is very wanting. And, Madam Speaker, this is a place where we should be interrogating these issues thoroughly. Because if we don't do that, we'll be failing on our oversight work. And you can see this report is very detailed. It has got no malice, straight to the point, highlighting the issues as they are. And it is important the House start taking such reports very seriously. In fact, Madam Speaker, we recommended to go further and have a one-to-one interrogation with the CCM based on our findings. And we want to take it even further to have a sitting with Her Excellency the Governor. Because if these issues, maybe she's not even aware of some of these issues. And it is unfortunate that the best hospital we have in our county is being managed in a very poor state. It is not that the hospital doesn't have money, it has a lot of money. Revenues are being collected, but they are being used in different ways. And it is not just Machakos Level 5. If you look at Mwala Level 4, we are collecting 1 million every month. But if you go there, even one piece of cabbage, you cannot even get. When monies of tuned to 1 million every month is being collected. This hospital is collecting so much money, but the quality of service is very poor. So, Madam Speaker, what I'm saying is we have reached a stage whereby we need to start calling a spade, and we need to get deeper into serious oversight on the executive, and it can only be done at the committee stage. I am a very strong supporter of us doing our work at the level of the committee. And we need to go even further. If we find that the CCM or the officers who we have employed don't have the competencies to implement what we are telling them, Madam Speaker, this assembly should even go further and start reprimanding them to start doing their work or shape out. There are only two options, because we can't continue like this. First of all, why would monies collected in a hospital be channeled into a family bank account? Why should money is collected in a hospital be channeled to a CRF account, when ideally it should be plowed back to the same facility so that service delivery can be done? I actually even visited the same hospital last week, and state is not different. So, Madam Speaker, what I'm saying as a member of this committee, we need to get into depth all the issues. As a committee, we are very committed. We will even go further, make a follow-up visit. If we find the issues are not being addressed, Madam Speaker, we will bring the issues here. I will discuss them so that we can start resolving the issues. We are not going to become a talking shop. We will not. It's very unfortunate. How do you transfer very competent directors to become nurses? Surely. Why would you do that? You either sack them or you either sack them on the spot of short course why they should not be sacked instead of transferring upon them. Why would you transfer very senior people to just become normal nurses in hospital? That is not acceptable. Two, Madam Speaker, we need to enact this act. And the most important thing as an assembly we need to enact is the Finance Improvement Financing Act 2023. Madam Speaker, I'm urging members, because we are going to bring it here, we need to enact it. It is the only solution to our problems, because it gives Machakos level 5 authority to plow back. If they collect 20 million, they plow back 20 million instantly, without it going to family bank, then it goes to CRF, then they only receive 0.5%. That is not acceptable, Madam Speaker. I think we need to ensure that is done. Number two, Madam Speaker, we need a CEO. We need a CEO in this hospital. It looks like the people who are running that hospital don't have the competencies at all. Yeah. It's a fact. Or their hands are tied. Two things. They're incompetent or their hands are tied. As an assembly, should we continue allowing incompetent people to run facilities? The answer is no. So, Madam Speaker, I strongly believe that we need to get our act together and we need to do a lot in that hospital. It's the only hospital we have. And unfortunately, if people who don't have money go there, they are just suffering. The last point, Madam Speaker, I'm talking about is we need to take care of the dead. We need to take care of the living and the dead. The state of that mortuary is appalling. And we need to raise it to the level of a funeral home where people can even go, pray, a parlor where they can pray for their departed relatives. They can also perform post-mortem. And all these things, Madam Speaker, are avenues for us to raise additional revenue for the same hospital. So, Madam Speaker, I'm here to support the report and also say we need to go further and ensure that these recommendations which are in this report are enacted to the latter. And Madam Speaker, this is the way committees are run. And Mr. Chairman, I'm very proud to be part of your committee. Let us continue doing the good work. Honorable members of this committee, let us continue doing the good work. And let us move the next step. We should not just do a report and keep quiet about it. We will go further and find out the real issues facing the hospital. If it needs the CCM Health to come to this assembly to explain some of these things, so be it. If it means the chief officer of medical services coming here. But of course, as you see, Madam Speaker, the chief officer is confirming our findings. So the chief officer looks like his hands are tied. He's confined. Have you ever gone to a hospital to see a doctor and the doctor tells you he cannot treat you? The chief officer, medical services, is confirming our frustrations. So it means his hands are tied. And he is a person we should hold accountable in this assembly. But he's saying his hands are tied. Madam Speaker, I am very emotional about this report because yesterday I was in Mwala, level 4. And the same things, Madam Speaker, which are being said here are the same ones which are in Mwala level 4. Lastly, it looks like there's conflict of interest from some members here. It looks like there are some members here who have actually started supplying goods in our level 4 and level 5. It is very sad. Madam Speaker, I'm going to, if you give me permission, I'm going to go further. And I'm going to table, yes, we cannot have a situation whereby some people...
It's oversight.
Of course, you cannot be the maker and checker.
It's oversight.
If you are the maker, you cannot be the checker. If you are the one supplying the cabbage, you cannot come and tell us that we are doing badly. So we need, if it's oversight, let us do good oversight.
Yes.
Let us not go, I don't need a point of order. I don't need it. I am saying, let us raise above. Let us raise above the bar. I don't need it. Let us raise above the bar. It's up to my right to say I will not need it. It is our raise above the bar.
You have made your point, Honorable Member.
I'm finishing. Yeah. Let us raise above the bar and let us do what is right. Because our people are looking upon us to be able to give them service. I am one person who is very passionate about Mwala level 4. One member here seems to be belittling anatufinya. Na sisi watu wa Mwala tutamnyorosha.
You are now in breach. It's okay. You have finished your submissions. Thank you very much, Honorable Paul. Then after which, Honorable Ndeti, in that order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand here to support this report by the Committee on Health. And one loud its super chair for presenting the report in a very good manner, in a very clear manner, in a very clarified manner. Madam Speaker, health is one of the basic necessities for us to exist. It comes, it sits next to food, sits next to water, and above shelter. Madam Speaker, personally, I don't like it when politics are brought into matters that touch into lives of our people, especially those people that cannot afford to go to any other hospital. And I want to thank the committee for confirming that all the rumors that were in the media were correct. That our government tried a lot to cover, but there are things even our forefathers used to say, you cannot hide. You can hide some things, but others you can't hide. You can't hide when you have problems. I happened to be invited to the health committee one of the days that they visited the hospital. And the 10% operation level that had been outlined by a medical superintendent who was since been transferred to be a nurse at Kadhiani Hospital is the same, was the truth actually. Madam Speaker, during that visit, I spoke to one of the staff and they told me that no one wants to be a substantive medical superintendent in that hospital because when they say the truth, then they will be demoted and transferred to other facilities. Madam Speaker, we urgently need a hospital management board in our level 4 and 5 hospitals, which is headed by a qualified CEO
and who will not be part of the politics of the day, who will have a security of tenure in their operations, and who will operate without fear or favor. The Facility Improvement Act of 2023, Madam Speaker, needs to be put in place, because when you go to our Mwala level 4, where most of the patients from Kibaoni, my ward, will go, because probably they cannot afford fare to get to Machakos, the funds collected at that level should be spent at that level. We are experiencing a lot of impunity or bureaucracies where money has to go to a certain kitty, then later come back to be used in the hospitals, where procurement has to be done by a certain person. Madam Speaker, when we need urgent medical supplies, we cannot wait for someone seated in an office to make a decision on the lives of our people. It has to be made from the hospital. And these hospitals have to be given the power and the mandate to do end-to-end processing of their supply chain management. Madam Speaker, the other day, some group of MCS met the president, and one of the recommendations that he was recommending to the members who were there was that we need to pass laws to enable CECMs, chief officers, to come to this house and answer questions touching on service delivery to our people. We need to do that very urgently, because some of our CECMs and chief officers have taken this as business as usual. We meet in committees, they make their presentation there, they disappear, nothing happens. We need to have them come to this house, face the house, and answer questions on specific matters. For instance, if the CECM health was seated there, I would ask him that it's not, the health system is not only doing badly here at level 5. We are doing badly at all levels. Personally, Kibaoni, I don't have a level 3 hospital. It's a level 2 that operates, is baptized as a level 3. A level 3 must have a maternity ward. It must have a place to test patients. It must have wards for the patients. I don't have an hospital that can accommodate a patient overnight. And I need that person to come here to answer me, to answer the people of Kibaoni, why they are deprived of a level 3 hospital. Lastly, Madam Speaker, as I have said, matters health needs to be handled devoid of any politics, because it's a matter of life and death. When these issues are pointed out by the citizens of this county, then it should be taken seriously and handled as such. As a county, we are not supposed to be a reactionary, we are not supposed to always be on a reactionary mode. We need to be action-oriented. We need to be proactive, do these things before even our people notice them. And that way, we shall, apart from doing service to man, we shall also have done service to God. Today morning, as we took tea, a member, I can't remember who, noted that one of their constituents lost a loved one, and the body today had to be taken to Kadhiani mortuary, which would mean probably the issues that are here are still here. Let us try to improve our health system end to end. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Health Committee, and thank you, Super Chairman. Asante.
Thank you very much, Honorable Paul. Honorable Ndeti.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to congratulate Honorable Mutie and the entire Health Committee for coming up with a well-explained, clear and loud report on what is happening within our health dockets. What I would say is that once you go through the report, you can see the biggest problem is erratic procurement of drugs, accessories, equipment, and it's unfortunate because we've got procurement officers who are fully trained on government procurement systems. If they are not performing, I believe we have a system that should be able to calculate and be able to give them the consumption rate of these items, especially the what you call them, the fast-moving consumables. That system should be able to tell them their usage per week, per month, per year. And if it is not giving them, then they have garbage in, garbage out, and that system should be thrown out, and a new system put in place that is going to allow them to know when to procure. Because if they are not able to, people are suffering because of lack of essential things like gloves and medicines. It's unfortunate. So I think through the Committee of Health, you should ensure that you follow up the department and ensure that there is sound procurement systems in place. The other thing I took note of is the employment of staff. Machakos County, if I remember, we have got 47% wage bill, while the accepted level, according to the Constitution, should be 30%. It's unfortunate that this department gets the lion's share in the annual budget of over 4 billion, and yet they are still running short of staff. I think there is need for this county to really go back and find out what kind of staff, what quality of staff we have employed that are consuming 47% of our wage bill. I can imagine the recurrent expenditure must be quite high in this health docket. The other thing I would talk about is the procurement of equipment. I don't understand why those who are held responsible on procurement should procure an equipment that does not have proper guidelines on how to operate the equipment. How do you go ahead and procure an equipment in a foreign language that nobody within the department can interpret? You know, it's unfortunate. This must be done away with, and I call upon the chairman, Mheshimiwa Mutie, and his entire team to really work closely with the department, because these are things that can be addressed and maybe sorted out amicably. Finally, I would call upon my colleague, Mheshimiwa Kisila, to request him in future to give us facts, and especially when he says that there are some of us who are supplying, you should tell us who are these who are supplying. Don't just, these are honorable house that will not want to depend on, you know, stories out there. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable D. Kevuva, proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support that report from my former chairman, whom we parted with last night, and he was in a hurry. I could see he was going to the laundry and to Kinyoza, and he came out very well, ready to present this report. Chairman is a good man, and I can state here. Madam Speaker, I've been a member of that committee for the last, I don't know, 1 or 2 years, and we have worked very closely with the office. I happen to be one of the right-hand men of the chairman, just to support him, so that we can achieve the best. And then what was happening in the hospital happened also here in Parliament. That when you talk, you are transferred. So it came down to part ways with my chairman.
Yes,
but no problem, where I'll go, I'll still perform optimally. Madam Speaker,
You are being asked to take skills to that other committee.
No problem. I'll do it. And
There
I'll
are
be
those
right.
good skills that you
I'll,
have.
I'll take them. More so,
Yes.
I'm being welcomed by Chairman Kaloi,
Yes.
my also good friend. I promise to be his right-hand man. Chair, Madam Speaker, I rear goats and dogs. And the experts always don't allow us to interbreed. Because when you interbreed, you get a very weak version. The problem we have in the hospital is interbreeding. Interbreeding in this sense. What Mheshimiwa Brian Kisela said, that in terms of supplies, in terms of management, somebody there has a connection here. That is interbreeding. Somebody here will stand to deter the committee not knowing what is happening there. So one day, I think we should do away with that interbreeding. That members of this house should not be allowed to supply. Spouses and girlfriends and what, they should not also be allowed to supply and procure. That is the biggest problem we have in the hospital. You can imagine, Madam Chair, when the governor wanted to introduce FIF in absolutely good faith, she called the health committee to his office, to our office, and requested our comments on the facility improvement fund, which we said we will support because it will improve services at the hospital. November, as the chair stated, Machakos level 5 collected 11 million. And December, it collected 9 million. That money was enough. The 11 collected in November was enough to run in December. We will not be here if that money was plowed back. Although, yesterday when you sent me to the Senate, Madam Speaker, it came out very well that we can never spend anything at source. Even the chair of finance at the Senate, the former governor of Mandera, said some county governments are hiding behind FIF, health, and spending. And I don't remember the clauses he quoted, but we are not allowed to spend.
That is
So we will find a way.
That is the truth.
Yeah, that is the truth. We can never spend even that money collected at the hospital at source. It must find its way. It must be swept to CRF.
Yes.
Then come. So we'll find a way, but not to. Let me finish. I don't want to be informed, Brian. Eh? No. Let me finish. Then you'll inform.
Started discussing the
Oh.
two of you.
No. Sorry, Madam Speaker.
Maybe we could hear what Honorable Kisila wants to inform you. It could be important for all of us.
You see, Madam Speaker, I don't want us to lose the point. We are not saying we spend the money on source. But if Machakos level 5 collects 10 million, it is swept to CRF, and it's the same amount requisitioned back. The same amount. But what is happening now, they are collecting 20 million, but they get only 5 million. So the other monies go to other things. They go to roads, they go to other uses. Okay. We are saying the same amount, total
Should
amount,
come back.
comes back. Thank you.
That's okay. That's okay.
Well
Madam
informed,
Speaker.
isn't it?
And I think I had also said so.
Yeah, sure.
What happened in reality, that 20 million was collected from Family Bank. I don't know it went to sports, it went to athletics, but it never got back to health. Mm-hmm. And that is some of the problems we have. Laundry, Madam Chair.
Yes.
And you know, this I don't know whether the governor knows. Some of our officers want to fail her. Because if you go to the laundry, Madam Speaker, you'll shed a tear, the way I know you. Because the linen is totally torn. In fact, if you have to what do you call kwalania? If you have to spread.
Yes.
If you have to spread some of the linen in a bed,
Yes.
it will look nasty. It will look, because there are stripes.
Yeah, you can see.
Cuttings. There are cuttings. If it is for the wool bed, it will cover less than 3 centimeters. And it is there in the machine being washed. We have a problem at the laundry. The machines are in Chinese. And the Chinese who made them have not come to train our officers. And the Chinese, the Chinese does not know, the Chinese don't know English.
Yes.
So I don't know, we'll have to get somebody else now to translate from Chinese to English and vice versa. And it will take time. They are in use and they have not been officially received. So these are some of the small things which will make our hospital not work. And then again, when you go to the mortuary, and this is a serious one, you find the contractor who was tasked to do the repair works at the mortuary is a Muslim. And you know Muslims don't have mortuaries. It's like giving a Christian a contract to do
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
Okay. Point of order taken, DS.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think it's prudent for members sometimes when they are also debating. We give facts, we get facts. It's not ideal that we personalize. I support the report, but let us also be moderate and be factual. Because I happen to have met one member of our community, in fact, who told me, I don't know, it was by chance, who told me he was the contractor on that facility. And so when we change and talk about Muslims and any other community, I also think it's not prudent for us unless we've got evidence. And so if the members have evidence of the contractor, then we can temper it here, at least then we debate from that point. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable DS.
Thank you, Madam.
Point of information, Madam Speaker. Point of information.
Let me finish, Speaker, then they can inform you, please. Because I'm almost done.
Let me give directions that don't mention communities, don't mention people's names. Restrict yourself to the comments without mentioning any community. Thank you. Proceed.
Information, Madam Speaker.
I'll give you an opportunity, Honorable Bunga.
It is an information.
Informing who? I've made a ruling on that issue.
Madam Speaker, I don't know whether it is an information or a reminder. I want to remind the chair, that is you. You made a ruling here earlier that anyone standing on a point of order should first name the standing order. You have allowed the DS to just shoot up and start contributing because he said he is raising on a point of order. He did not tell us which is a point of order.
He said a point of information. It was information, Honorable Member. Thank you. Let's proceed.
Thank you. Thank you. I request the Honorable Mwanga not to go to that direction. You will be roasted. So, Madam Speaker, as I conclude, but I can tell you, I can
restrict yourself to the point.
I can say it without contradiction.
Honorable D, put yourself strictly to the point.
I'm telling you,
Yes.
Madam Speaker, thank you. What I have stated here, Madam Speaker, I raised it in the committee. And I rarely talk rumors. But because you have said we don't mention names, let me leave it at that. I don't want to be controversial. I want to be as polite and as good as possible. Lastly, Madam Speaker, is about the kitchen. You know, if you have a good heart like the way I have, you would want the governor to excel. The governor went and launched works at the kitchen. State of the art. If that kitchen is finished, is finalized, is handed over, it will be one of the best kitchens we have in this country. But what has happened? If you go there, Madam Speaker, the contractor was in a hurry. I don't know, to get paid or to get what, because it is not being used. There are some positive and very nice renovations, but it has not been fully handed over or finished.
Perhaps you're in the process of doing so.
I think the process is the interbreeding we raised here.
Okay.
So that some of us are doing the kitchen, and there are politics in it, which should not be the case.
Okay.
And I request, if we can run away from that, if the kitchen, Madam Speaker, in your wisdom, you can pass the kitchen and see. If that kitchen is finalized, we'll have the best kitchen in this country. And that will be something the governor will be proud of. But I don't know whether she knows it is not in use. The roof is almost falling down as we speak today, because rain is finding its way down to the floor, and everything is in a mess. So the kitchen is in deplorable state, which the committee should go back there and make sure it is finalized. Madam Speaker, I raise to support the committee findings, which I think I signed that, I was part of it, and I wish them well in the new era without my contribution. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable D. Let's have Honorable Lloyd, Honorable Ndwiki, then Honorable Katiti in that order. Then we can have Honorable Mwonga, then Honorable Digital later. But members, let's just be brief, because I think we have had really a lot of inputs. Let's not keep repeating what other people have said. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Mutua Lloyd. I want to support the report given by the Health Committee, and I want to applaud the chair. This is really a good work. And as an assembly, our role is to do the oversight. This is the real oversight. They have done a very good job, and I wish the recommendation and the finding they have done, they can be implemented without looking like there's a political malice in it. When an assembly, we have a committee as members, like the committee has very competent members. We as an assembly, we trust that committee and the work they do, the finding they do, we go by it. But whatever we have found out in that report, without repeating myself, a lot has been said. We will not hide here and say things are okay in our health system. They are not. From the leadership of that health system, it's questionable. When we have so many senior officers in acting capacity for more than 6 months, you do not expect those people to have a morale to work. You do not expect them to have a morale to give right advisory to the government. Then what are we doing as a government? When we have a health system that is not working, even if you build roads, put water to the people and everything, you are not helping them, because people not use road while they are dead. So the best thing we can do is to have a political goodwill to help the people of Machakos by ensuring that our hospital systems are working. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Ndwiki, very quickly, don't repeat anything else that has been said earlier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
My name is Daniel Ndwiki, representing the great people of Mlolongo, Syokimau Ward. First of all, I rise to support this report. Madam Speaker, since I came to this house, I've never had a report that is comprehensive and that is very simple and straightforward like this report, Madam Speaker. I happened to be invited in the Health Committee, and I visited that facility. And Madam Speaker, I can testify here that that report is very correct. And Madam Speaker, The report touches all the departments of the health, Madam Speaker. We have had a report concerning the kitchen, the revenue collection and as such, the wards, the mortuary, all the departments of the health. We have had a report touching those sectors. Madam Speaker, my concern is about the implementation. I would like to ask this committee, Madam Speaker, and also I would also like to ask your good Madam Speaker, to follow up on implementation of this report, Madam Speaker. We have earned many reports in this house, and urge the chair and the health committee that your work is not over. You have collected the report, you have handed over to the house, you have debated, you have supported. But Madam Speaker, I urge that committee to make sure that it follows up on the implementation of this report, Madam Speaker. Because, Madam Speaker, if this report is not implemented, it is as good as if it is not there, Madam Speaker. In our areas, we meet our people, but all the matters raised here, Madam, we hear them at our locals. I come from far end of Machakos, Mulolongo, but if I have public gathering, I receive complaints and issues concerning this facility, Madam Speaker. So I urge the implementation of this report to be taken with the seriousness that it matters. And if possible, we should be reported here on the progress of the implementation of this report, Madam Speaker. So I support and I support this report, and I say that it will be good for the people of Machakos and for the government of Machakos. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ndwiki. Honorable Katiti.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm Boniface Katiti, Member of County Assembly, representing Mudadeni Ward. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge and thank the Committee of Health, and more so the focal, the eloquent, and the articulate chairman who has come up with this report. It's a nice report. It is presented to us in the simple and worst language, in the East and West language. That are the simple language possible. It's understandable. Everybody can understand what has been said and the road that is taking place in our the main facilities that in the Machakos level 5. The procurement process has been talked about. It has been long. I remember one day we had a meeting with the governor when we were talking about the procurement process in this count. We talked, even the chairman, the same chairman was talking about the procurement, and we were saying that the decentralized mode of procurement was the best. But that time we were told even the centralized was not even possible, but it was, I don't know what was sent that kind of procurement, though eventually it came to be as a mode of centralized procurement that has been taking long. In terms of revenue collection, we can collect a lot of monies if the facility is functioning, every department is functioning well. Because now most of the patients here in my ward are being taken to Kitui because of the facility in Machakos level 3, level 5 is not working, and others are referred to once they come here, they are referred to Kenyatta because most of there is no that competent staff, because most of them are meant to transport that have the knowledge to cater and to care for us. The other thing, let us appreciate and acknowledge that we all here, we are beneficiaries of the insurance covers. I can go, my wife and also my children, we can be treated in any hospital in this country. But there are people down there in our wards that mandate us to have that kind of insurance, that kind of cover. And once they come to our facilities, then they cannot access the medical services that they require. So that kind of road, that is the assembly, that's in the Machakos level 3, level 5, then should be addressed well, and also trickle back to level 4, level 3, even to the other dispensaries in our locations. One day, not even some days back, I had an issue with the disconnection of electricity in level 3. It took almost a month to connect it back. And imagine that's a health facilities. That requires some patients even being treated there at night. The vaccines that require to be stored in refrigerators, they were being taken every time, every day, and in the morning and taken back to Modern level 3 to be stored so that they cannot be wasted. So my hang is, the report is good. Let it be implemented to the latter. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I support this report.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I was next after Katiti. I want to start by applauding the committee and the super chair, as he has been nicknamed by the previous speakers. Madam Speaker, the chair and his committee are equal to the task. Madam Speaker, I also, with your permission, want to say it is unfortunate that one member who had passion in this committee and to be roasted. I'm using his words. One honorable D and passion with this committee and with our level 5. I remember him inviting me to that committee as if he was the chair, because of some issues I had raised outside there. And the chair, you know, when he was presenting the report, he used the word utterance 2 times. I was very keen. And he said, one thing that formed or compelled the committee to visit the hospital, it is because of those utterances. They meant the basis of that committee. Madam Speaker, what has been said by the previous members, it is a true replica of what is happening in our other facilities, all the facilities. Although my older brother, Honorable Brian, has been told not to make allegations, I want to say what Honorable Brian said, it is true. These are not allegations. Madam Speaker, level 4 hospital in Masinga, it's being supplied by one of us. And if allowed, I will present document to prove my case. The same thing happening in other hospitals.
What the honorable member said, if I remember correctly, is that you don't just say that some members are supplying and there is conflict of interest. You mention them, if you know them and if you have hard evidence. That's what the member said.
Madam Speaker,
yes.
Since now I don't have that evidence, allow me not to name them, okay, but the next time I will do.
Okay.
And Madam Speaker, Masinga level 4, the person who is doing cleaning services is a politician and an MCA from outside Machakos County Assembly. Machakos County. This is wrong. And as Honorable Lloyd has said, the rot is starting from the head. And the Luos say a fish starts to rot from the head. We need to do something about the Department of Health. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I do support.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Ndunda.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Matthew Ndunda, Digital from Kangundo North. Former Vice Chair to our able Chair, Health Committee. Otherwise, I support this this report in regard to number 17 to 19, basically on measures regarding to supplies of essentials in level 5. Basically, when you go to that hospital, you'll find even a paper, pen, gloves, they are not there. This department is given more than 4 billion. So I believe if better ways are looked upon, it would be just the win to Machakos County Governor, not even to this assembly, but also to the public who elected us. Because if you try to see, if the gloves are not found, you are being told to go and buy outside. If something small like a paper, photocopier are not there, it becomes a challenge. Now, in the same measures, you find that in our level 5, if things are not good, don't expect down forward to be well. Because if a father is not okay, it means the son also has a problem. And to this problem, I believe can be nurtured, can be taken care if this report is adhered to the letter. Number 2 in my point is the issue of kitchen, which Honorable D has still mentioned the measures. The current kitchen being used, Madam Speaker, if you go there, in fact, you would eat that food. When we went there, you find the buckets are being lined there, those for the mchele, those for burgers, and so forth. Imagine such kind of diarrheas and kipindupindus. They are likely to be in the case. So I believe if the current kitchen being under construction is going to be taken effectively, it means then we are going to treat the current problem and our people are going to get the best services. And my last point in that regard is the issue of toilets. Madam Speaker, if you go there, 3 days stool are still there. These people, they only wash the given utilities only when they hear that the committee are there. Imagine somebody used a given toilet 3 days ago, the other one went yesterday. What about who will go now? Where will you place your stool and all those waste? So it becomes a challenge, and indeed, it becomes a pathetic issue. And therefore, it is very important to ensure that those who are responsible in those measures, in fact, they do it on a daily basis, despite the fact that the committee are going there. Because I've said, if we are going to win this, in fact, if this report is going to be implemented, the biggest win will be to our county governor. Second win will be to this county assembly. And third and above all will be our people who brought us here. So I support this report to the fullest. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Honorable DS, I'll give you an opportunity, after which Honorable Alphonse, and then Honorable Molinge. Yes, let's start with Honorable. I had not seen your hand, but I've now seen it. You can make your contribution after Molinge, Honorable Majority. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm Stephen Mwandhi, representing the great people of Kalakala, Katini Ward. Madam Speaker, I'll start by applauding the committee and also supporting the recommendations from the committee, that they are recommendations that should be supported and implemented, even though out of the submissions that have been made by honorable members here, you will think that the facility, it's like it doesn't operate, it's not there. Because I was trying to imagine when the honorable member for Kangudo North was saying that stool for the last 3 days is still feasible in the facility. you'll find that although it's not in the recommendations, you can think that it's a market toilet, and it's something that I think.
He was initially a member of that committee, so he must have visited the facility and found that.
Yeah,
from the point of knowledge.
What I'm saying is that okay, well, it is not quoted in the report, but things that have been mentioned in the report are things that should be adhered to, followed, but with some questions that we need to ask ourselves now as members of this county assembly. Madam Speaker, it is barely a week when the Assembly passed the CFSP with a budget of 4.4 billion for the health sector. From that report, you will find that our wage bill is now at 47%. And being at 47%, the 4.4 billion translates to 33% of the entire county budget. So it means our budget, 33% of our budget will be going to the health sector. And at the end of the day, you'll realize that according to the recommendations, it's true that that budget is not enough. That we've been, the budget that has been being allocated to the health sector, notwithstanding the revenues that are collected from the facilities, I believe it's still not enough, and what I think is we need to get a better way of handling health issues. We can talk and talk, but if we don't look at the budgets, the 20 millions that are being collected at level 5 are way back, are too little for the sector or for the facility to make it move. So what I'm trying to say is, let us also look at the budgets and see how best we can do so that we may have our health sector moving forward. Madam Speaker, Machakos County happened to have been a pilot county that was piloting the introduction of UHC. And out of that, we used to get 1.2 billion for the health sector then. And it's a pilot. It was something that maybe the resolutions were that it was not viable, it was not possible to be undertaken, the UHC, and so national government no longer supports the counties with the money that were going to the pilot counties that were for Machakos, Nyeri, Kisumu, and another one county. So it is the high time we see as a county how we are going to seal that loop that was left with the 1.2 billion shillings that was coming to our health facilities. I'm also in support that the FIF be implemented, but also not as one member was saying here that the money be spent at the source. One of the things that has been fought, and they have been fighting in that level for, Madam Speaker, is because the so-called directors were spending all that money at the source. The 52 million that was swept, according to the COB report that we have, the health sector has 52 million by the end of the month of December. The first 6 months, they had collected 52 million. That now was swept to the CRF account for spending. That means in the health sector, we used to collect over 100 million, and that money was being spent by the so-called directors. The ones we are saying here, they were transferred to other facilities, and that's why, according to me, they opted to boycott or sabotage services there. I'm very sure if the committee goes there today and come up with a report, it will be different. Because it is money that the directors were sitting down, the Ment Soup was sitting down, making arrangements and spending that money with things sometimes that could not help the facility. Now things have started moving and working, and so I support the FIF Act to be implemented so that we may get competent people who will also be held accountable. I used to be the chair finance during the second assembly here. And at no single time I ever had statements of expenditures of level 5 hospital, Madam Speaker. Reason being, they used to spend the money at source. Now the issue is, this money has been swept to the CRF account, and now these directors were not comfortable with that. And that's why we end all those issues that are being mentioned here. Madam Speaker, it is unfortunate that we are talking and it's being taken as if it's a big thing that a kitchen has not been handed over. Yet we are told the kitchen is very modern. There is a good kitchen that has already been constructed, but the serious issue here is the kitchen has not been handed over. We need to raise up, and we know things will work out very well with those changes that were made. We expect the best for our people, but also let those, because you see, Madam Speaker, after the transfers, you can tell there is sanity at that facility. These are people who were ready to sabotage that health facility because they used, and as at now, I know the amount that has been collected from that facility, from our level 4 and 5, have it up to 180 million. Money that was not being accounted for, money that 3 or 4 people were sitting down and planning on how to spend that money, and that has been our serious issue. Let us have all money accounted for, from wherever department, from wherever quarters. If the money is accounted, let it be swept back to our health facilities, and that way, I'm very sure, Madam Speaker, we'll have serious changes in our health sector. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. We had other speakers in line. Honorable Alphonse, then Honorable Mulinge, is that so? Yeah, sure. Then.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Alphonse Motinda Nzioka, representing the great people of Kiva Ward. I want to start with thanking the chairman of Health Committee with the entire committee members. Madam Speaker, now the report we have received here, it has confirmed the complaint has been existing within Machakos from Machakos level 5. They were all true. Madam Speaker, I wonder, some days back, there was some clips were trading all over Machakos County. Some of the honorable members seated here who went to the hospital to confirm whether the complaints were not true. Honorable members, I'm here representing the residents of Kiva who sent me to be representing them. And it is paining me so much. If a patient will come from all the way from Kiva, knowing Kiva is the farthest end of Machakos County, come to the Rivaro Hospital, which is Machakos level 5, and finds the services intending to receive are not there at all, at all. Madam Speaker, I think and I believe we were elected by our electorate having their strong beliefs. When we come to this house, their things will run smoothly. It is my plea to my honorable members. Let us work for the people who elected us, being honest to them. Let us work for our 3 obligations, and let us not allow ourselves to lie on our electorates. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to support the report.
Thank you very much, Honorable Alphonse. That is very good comments there. Honorable Mulinge, proceed and make your comments.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm going to be very much brief. First, I will start by thanking the Chairman of Health and the committee, members of the Health Committee. Madam Speaker, the matter we are addressing is basic right for health. Madam Speaker, what the report has given us, the report is very good, but it has given us bad news of Machakos level 5. Madam Speaker, you know 90% of Kenyans, and when I'm saying Kenyans, I'm talking about the people of Machakos. They flock to public hospitals to get medical attention. And Madam Speaker, with the report we have been given, low supply of drugs, low supply of food affecting even the patients getting lunch very late. And maybe as we're going to talk about supper and getting supper very late. And again, the chicken where the lunch is being prepared.
Kitchen.
Yes. Kitchen, yes. Where the lunch is being prepared.
Yes.
It is in a bad state. And the reason why I'm saying it is in a bad state, I accompanied the committee and we went around. Also, Madam Speaker, the laundry machine has been procured, brought, and started being used when the operators of the machine has not been trained. And this involves me that there is a lot that is happening because hospitals is procuring very, very different types of machines. And it means that if that is happening, it means there is a lot taking place. Madam Speaker, again, without forgetting our mortuary, it is supposed to accommodate 24 dead bodies, but it can only accommodate 13. It means that the rest of the dead bodies in Machakos sub-count, because most of the people, dead bodies are coming from Machakos count, means that there will be nowhere to go. Only that to be referred either to our private monks or Kangundo or Kadhian. That means that the basic right we are talking, people of Muvoteke Makimwe, people of Machakos sub-count, people of Machakos count, we are not getting that the basic care the right way. So, Madam Speaker, I support the report, and I urge this noble house to make sure the report is addressed by the relevant department, and not even, Madam Speaker, forgetting this. I thought the issue was procurement alone, but it is not, because we are talking of a lot of exodus of workers, nurses, fleeing from our hospital and getting jobs elsewhere. It means that the working environment of our people, of our workers in the hospital, there is a problem. And I remember, Madam Speaker, when you interview workers, CCMs, chief officers, they have a list of things they are saying, when I'll get the job, I'm going to do A, B, C, D. But now the percentage of management, everything, we are talking about 10%. It means that in our hospitals, I'm not talking about general hospital alone, because when your heart has a problem means that all the organs of the body has problems. They are in the problem, and problem might not be even finance.
Because this is the department getting large share of the money from our coppers. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mulinge. Honorable Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Nicholas Nzioka, MCA for Machakos Central Ward. Madam Speaker, allow me to share my sentiments. First of all, I'd want to thank the chairman for the good report that they are able to come up with. I also want to thank the members of the Health Committee for the work they have done. I also want to thank the so many invitees to the committee, and because it seems that it had a lot of interest. I only wonder, Madam Speaker, the chairman did not see it good to invite me. So please, Chairman, next time, I also want to follow up on this interest and know why you are having so many invitees in your committee. So I would also want to be invited. Having said that, Madam Speaker, the facility in question lies within the ward I represent, and I interact with the facility a lot. And, you know, the attendant facilities, the patients, the ambulances, and so much. Allow me, Madam Speaker, to say that level 5 is a wonderful facility. It's a wonderful facility. And we are bound to have challenges as identified by the Health Committee. I mean, a facility of this nature that attracts people from Nairobi, attracts people from Kiambu, attracts people from Kitui, attracts people from Kajiado, coming to seek intervention, you would realize that we will not be at 100%, or we will not be working optimally. So, as much as we have loopholes in the operations of Machakos Level 5, let us also appreciate that it is a facility that does not only serve the people of Machakos, it serves way, way beyond Machakos. And I invite members we start thinking strategically. Madam Speaker, I would wish to draw to your attention that the Mheshimiwa from Mwala is not listening to me, and I would really, really want you to listen to this. Thank you, Mheshimiwa Kisila. I would want to invite all of us to think, what are the strategic measures that we need to put in place so that we do not look at Machakos Level 5 in isolation? What are the strategic measures as a county that we need to put into place? I would think one of the main issue is that Machakos Level 5 is congested. So if it is congested, what do we do? I propose that we start thinking of having equally well-equipped and well-staffed hospital, regional hospital. We can have one in Mwala that would serve the people of Mwala or Yatta, the people of Mwala and Yatta. We can improve the equipment and the facility at Kadhiani. We can do the same in Kangundo. We can do the same in Athi River. And by doing that, we will have halved the problems that are in Machakos Level 5. So let us start thinking at how we can help the governor to actualize the dreams of having regional hospitals. With that, we are going to reduce the traffic in Machakos Level 5. And that calls then for budgetary allocation. So that when the Minister for Health or CEC comes here, we have a strategic plan that we are going to start with Mwala, for example. And then next financial year, we are going to go to Kadhiani. And like so, and like so. I have heard honorable members ventilate on issues of internal controls, what I would want to call internal controls of at the Machakos Level 5. Internal controls, I think it's the work of the chief officer, that he must be able to manage the personnel. Those are the doctors, the directors, and everyone else. They must be able to manage and control the stores, because there are issues to do with pharmacies or supplies that are not taken care of. They must be able to manage the equipment. So I support that we put those people into task. Whoever is supposed to do the internal controls must be able to tell this house any other time that he's called upon to make sure that the internal controls are working. Madam Speaker, I want to support also the issue of facility improvement fund, but not the way it has previously been managed. You cannot entrust 52 million to 4 people or 5 people. There has to be a way of tracking back the money, the said money. And when we are saying the money must first of all hit the account, the revenue account of the county, because that is what the Finance Act says. You cannot remove money from a hospital cash box and spend it. But there has to be a way of knowing that the hospital is also an emergency facility and it is bound to get emergency needs, that we can have another internal control, a person holding some form of imprest, just in case there is need for the emergency, they can be able to account the imprest, but not spending directly from the cash box of the hospital. The money must always, first of all, hit the county account, and then it can be swept back. So on the issue of the FIF, I would pray that the members see the sense that it is not an issue of spending the money cash without accountability. There has to be accountability. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that the management of personnel of the county is the work of the county secretary. Let us not personalize transfers. I happen to have been a civil servant for 19.5 years. And the last line of my appointment letter said, and any other duty that you may be assigned from time to time by your supervisor. So if you have been given the job to be a director in Machakos Level 5, and your supervisor feels that he can transfer you to another facility to do other duties, unless you want to suck yourself out of the job, that is exactly the terms and condition of your employment, that you can be transferred anywhere within Machakos County to offer another service. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I want to support the report and ask that we follow up on the very specifics that the committee identifies as a recommendation for the greater good of improving the service delivery service delivery in terms of health of our people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Majority Leader. Honorable Francis Ketaka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would want to be very brief. First, I rise to support the report and say that the report is good and the report requires proper implementation. One thing I've observed, and that needs to be taken care of, we need also to ensure that the automation of the hospital management system is in place, tested, and working and giving reports as required by the system. Of importance, we've said so many things. We've read through the report. Everything looks like things are not running the way they're supposed to do. But one thing that we need to understand is that we have people who are responsible to run in every particular department in the hospital, and people who should be responsible. So it's a matter of taking responsibility. Those who have failed to give us results in those facilities have answers. We need to be to get responses as to why. Because when you give somebody a task to perform, at the end of the day, you need to get a response, a result. So it's not about money. I don't want to believe that it's all about money in the health facility. It's all about also responsibility. Everybody should take upon his task, perform your duty. If it's about procurement, please, can we have timely procurement of our medical supplies? Do we have an inventory? If we don't, why? You don't procure when you have zero. You procure when you have at a particular level. So these are things that we need also to make sure that happens in level 5. And if this happens timely, we will have our people served in the right way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Thank you, Honorable Francis. I think Honorable D, you end your time, so you cannot speak twice. You end your time, Honorable D. I think now I'll call the mover to come and respond and reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and the honorable members for making your remarks. I wouldn't want to waste a lot of time. I would perhaps point out two issues that members seem not to have captured, and one of them is on the Facility Improvement Fund and the spending on source. The spending on source that has been attributed to the Deputy Speaker and the Majority Leader happened not to be the one described in the FIF Act. It's important to note that the FIF Act has said that every facility must have its account, and the source of the monies to that account shall be the monies they collect at that facility and monies allocated by the county assembly. Therefore, it's important for members to understand that we are pointing out issues that are valid. The FIF Act, again, has given the procedure of granting the authority to incur expenditure to the people who have been designated by that act. So it would not be about taking money from the cash box and purchasing matchsticks. It will be properly checked. Secondly, I would like to point out when the committee is speaking in regards to the directors who have been transferred, we were not superfluous. We were speaking informed by the role that the law has given these directors. We were not speaking on the person who was holding that office. We did ask whether there was any procedural activity that preceded those actions. I believe that the human resource and the labor laws have provided the procedure through which disciplinary actions can be undertaken. What we were questioning is, after you have made that decision, if so, it was right according to your actions, then why the documentation is missing? That exposed us to a fact that the person who is supposed to offer technical advice is now not available. Reasons, because maybe they wanted to use money, they wanted to use this and that. It is important for people to always be objective. Directors and other officers do not handle money at facilities, Honorable Speaker. Therefore, the issue we are raising was who now does that work of technical advice to the department. It wasn't about the person.
So, Chair, what was happening before? You are saying they were not handling money at the source. I think one of the debaters here said that there is no need even of sending the monies to the family bank account. So what was the meaning of that?
It is important to know that previously, Level 5 was not charging. Honorable Speaker, realize that we were not collecting money at any facility. We were not. Until last year, August. For all that time, no facility was charging. So where was the money? Finally, I'd like to point out what the Honorable D said about contractors being of a certain religion. There is no law that stops a contractor from being awarded a contract on the basis of religion. Therefore, if it was a Muslim doing the mortuary or a non-Muslim, that to us was not an issue. Perhaps it was part of enhancing his contribution. Finally, we will be following up on implementation of this report. This report was basically objective. It was not political, as people would have thought. It was informed on the need that was in existence as at the time. Our recommendations are for the betterment of our people's, of the facilities that attend to our people. And I will urge members that what we are doing now shall be remembered many years later. When we do our work to please some quarters, when we do our work because it is the right thing to do, those are two different things. I have always believed, and I will continue to hold the same conviction, that God has sent us here to do what is right, not what is convenient. I will urge our colleagues that we continue to discharge our duties. We will differ in opinion. One person will say it is red, another one will say it is maroon. One will say it is sky blue, another one will say no, it is ocean blue. But that does not mean that one person is superior than the other. Therefore, honorable members, I thank you for making this time good for us. We have laid this report before you. Thanks for your wonderful support. And also those who were skeptical, nature has proved you wrong, that we were objective and professional. Back in the years, Honorable Speaker, we will have, back in the years, Honorable Speaker, and the Honorable Xila is interrupting me. During the era of the Catholic kings, in England there was a king called King James. And King James had married the first and the second wife. And he wanted to divorce the first wife. But the Pope of the time said, you cannot do that thing. So the King of England had his parliament make a rule. It is called the Supremacy Act. The year was 1537, Honorable Speaker. And in that act, it was supposed for every person in that kingdom to make an oath professing that the King of England is greater than any other being, including the divine being, that is God. At that time, there was a man called Thomas More. The year was 1543. And Thomas More said he will not take that oath because there is no act of men that can supersede the will of God. And in that act, anybody who refused to take that oath was convicted of high treason and sentenced to death. That time when Thomas More refused, of course, he was sentenced to death. But if before he died, he said, today I will die as the king's faithful servant, but God's servant first. Honorable Speaker, in this house we might terminate the aspirations of members because they are not politically correct. But we will die as loyal servants to our people, but God's servants first. I thank you.
Thank you, Chair. But two things I happen to have served in this assembly. This is being my second term. I was the chair finance. The finance bill that is being used by the county government of Machakos, it's my committee that had prepared. And it had all the charges, including health charges. We've gone to that facility not once, not twice, to negotiate for our patients with big bills in that facility during our first and second assembly. So as however much we end the UHC funding, the facility, and you will find it everywhere in the system. You will always find the amounts that were collected by the level 5. Just get your COB report and you will find many reports from 2015, 2016 to 2020. So as a fact, the fact is that it's only level 3s that were introduced and level 4s, but level 5 used to charge our patients. Over and above all that, sometimes in politics, it's about where you are standing. When you stand from the other side, you will see if it's a 9 letter, you will see a 6 with the other one. When it stands the other side, you will say this is 9. It doesn't mean one is wrong. So it will depend with wherever you are standing, because unfortunately, I think all members in this assembly supported that report. All of them. So the report is good, and we appreciate that, and even request that let the report be implemented. I think that is the feeling of all members. Now, those others are just politics of where you are standing, maybe this side or the other side. Thank you, honorable members. And so, I now put the question that this House resolves to extend its sitting time. Sorry. Sorry. Okay. Order, honorable members. Let's proceed. I now put the question that this House adopts the report of the Health and Emergency Services Committee on the status of Machakos Level 5 Hospital laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 13th March 2024. As many as have the opinion say aye. As many as have the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. And the House adjourns to Tuesday, 19th March 2024 at 2:30 p.m.